So this problem is a pretty standard thing that we have to do as part of a calculus course, finding volumes of revolution. And so the process of actually calculating this is something that we expect students to be able to do. One thing that I've always wanted to be able to do is have a number of these volumes actually available so that the students don't have to imagine what these look like. So in this video, what I want to try to do is show you how to actually go about piecing this together, going from a sketch in Geogebra to an import into Autodesk Fusion 360, moving that into a plugin that's called Slicer that then allows you to take that volume of revolution and turn it into a physical model. So I'll hopefully show you from start to finish what that looks like. So we'll start here in Geogebra. This is Geogebra Classic version 6. It is not the web version. It's the one that you actually download onto your computer. And so I have set this up by having 3 curves, and I'll show you one at a time. This is the square root of x function, and I'm only showing it from 0 to 4. And then I made 2 line segments, one that is vertical here, that defines the right end of this region, and the other that's along the x-axis, just so we can get a view of what this actually looks like. And so from this, this is where we often on a whiteboard or a blackboard or maybe on a smartboard, we show how we turn this into a volume of revolution. But I want to go to the next step and actually use some software to first visualize what this looks like and then actually make it. Before I export a file though, I want to make it so that only the shape is going to be exported by Geogebra. So I'm going to turn off the axes on this button, turn off the grid as well, make it so that I just have the shape that I'm looking for here. So now I go to this menu, go to File, Download As, and I'm going to export this as an SVG file. I'll call that square root of x, and then I will save that here to my downloads. All right, and now that we've done this Geogebra step, we're going to be importing that SVG file into Autodesk Fusion 360. Here we are in Autodesk Fusion 360. It's a great program that lets you do all sorts of amazing 3D modeling. We're not going to get into any of the other features. We're just going to focus on making our volume of revolution. So to do this, I go to the Insert menu, I do Insert SVG, and I'm going to select that SVG file that we just generated using Geogebra. As we can see here, we have that same shape as before on our canvas. So I'm just going to move it so it's sort of in the middle. I hit Enter, and now I have that shape in Autodesk. I'm going to delete this outside stuff because I only want to be using my region of the square root. And so we can orbit around a little bit. We can sort of visualize what that region looks like in 3D. We're going to take this region and rotate it around this axis right here to make a solid. So to do that, I go to Create, I'm going to go to Revolve, and I'm going to select this as the profile, as the shape. For the axis I'm going to use, I'm just going to select this straight side right there, and 360 degrees, I want it to go all the way around. You could just do part of the way around and just do 270, see what that looks like. But we're not going to do that. We are going to do a full volume of revolution around the axis. So we're going to put in 360 there. And now we can see what this looks like. And so here is our shape. We can see the nice square root curve right there. We also, if you think about it a little bit, we can also see that this is a paraboloid. Has a parabola shape as well when we rotate it around that other axis. Okay, so now we have this. Now that we have this model, we're going to be using an add-in. And so what you want to do is go to the Fusion 360 App Store. When you do that, it takes you to this web page here. You can download this free Slicer add-in. Want to hit download, it's going to take a little bit of time. I think it's 60 or 70 megabytes. install it, and then what you're able to do once you've done that is when you go to Make, you're going to see this Slicer for Fusion 360 option. So you're going to select that. Let's take a look at the Slicer window and see what options it gives us. So this is Slicer. This is the software. You can see we have our 3D model, same as what we had within Autodesk 360. And what this program lets you do. So we have this 3D model. Slicer lets you cut that 3D model into a bunch of pieces so that those pieces can be then cut out using a laser cutter. So think about taking all of the slices of this 3D dimensional shape and then taking each piece and laying it out on separate sheets of cardboard or acrylic plastic. That's what this program lets you do. And it gives you a bunch of different options. You can see I can do stacked slices. So this is, you can look and see this has taken it and turned it into a bunch of slices. And this uses 7 sheets of the material I put in. You can see you can enter the size of the material that you have with you. I have put in the size of a big piece of poster board that I'm recycling. And so the dimensions are 95 centimeters by 670 millimeters. And I've also put in the thickness of that board. And so you can see 7 sheets of this, 119 parts. That's going to be a lot of work. But there are lots of different options. So instead of stacking these slices, interlocked slices means that you could instead cut it into a much more reasonable number of pieces like this. And it lays it all out onto the sheet that you have put in here. You can change the size of the overall model that you're creating using these numerical inputs. And this program makes it really easy. It lays out all of those pieces onto the sheet you're using. And here's the really cool part. You can get assembly steps. And so it tells you step by step, once you have cut out each of those pieces, and highlights which one you're actually using, how to piece this whole thing together. So 14 steps. And so the last thing I'm going to do is hit Get Plans. And you can see that will give me the layout of all the pieces that I want to use. I can export it as PDF, which is very easily imported into Adobe Illustrator, which is what our machine uses to cut things out. And so now the laser cutter is hard at work, cutting out all of those pieces that you saw in the previous video. And I'm using a piece of cardboard that was used for some sort of science poster, just so we're not using raw material to do this. So as you can see, I have all of my pieces now cut out, and now I need to get to work putting them together. So you can see now that I have all of the pieces together. It is a little bit wobbly, as you can see like this. So I'm going to add some glue to give it a little bit more stability. So there you have it. We started with a graph of y equals the square root of x in Geogebra, and we ended with a nice model of the volume of revolution of that region rotated around the x-axis. So now this will make it a lot easier for students to understand the concept of a volume of revolution as we go through the mechanics of doing the calculations using calculus. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd love to give you some pointers in order to make this work well for you. Thanks for watching.